Okay, so I guess I'll start by asking your name. I'm Dr. Taylor, and I'll be interviewing you today.
Oh, do you want me to? Oh, hi, Dr. Taylor. My name is my name is Hannah Baker.
Okay, and how old are you, Hannah?
I am 20 years old.
Okay, and just
Right. Dang, where is my? I don't remember. I think it's an intake interview. Is that what it was?
yeah.
Okay. My name is Hannah Baker.
Okay, and how old are you, Hannah?
I am 20 years old.
Okay, and so I don't know. I'm gonna have to clip this, sorry, but I don't know if I need to ask all of this client information or if that's something I would have before.
Well, I think what you could do is just ask like for verification.
Okay. So Hannah, just to verify, could you restate your date of birth?
08/28/2000. 2000.
Okay, and then your gender and race.
Female and Caucasian.
Okay, and then your marital status.
Single.
Okay, and then your living situation right now.
I currently live with my parents.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to start off with some family history. Would you mind telling me where you were born and where you grew up?
I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I grew up in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Okay, awesome. So when did you move to Spartanburg?
I moved to Spartanburg when I was about 8 years old.
Okay, awesome. So who raised you?
Both my parents did, Andy Baker and Olivia Baker.
Okay, perfect. And so do you have any siblings?
No.
Step siblings? No? Okay. Um, so I guess these questions are kind of irrelevant. So have you been married before or in a relationship recently?
I have been married. I mean, I haven't been married, sorry. Um, and I guess I was in a relationship, although I thought I was, but
Okay.
yeah,
So any children?
no.
Okay. And then I will move into some educational history. What's the highest grade you completed in school?
11th, my junior year.
Okay. And did you obtain a GED?
No.
And why did you make the decision to leave school?
I made that decision because during my junior year, I just felt so like isolated and alone and
Okay.
ignored by everybody due to some like drama that occurred. And I didn't even want to go to high school my junior year. Like after second semester of my sophomore year, I um honestly did not want to go to school, but my parents wanted me to go, so I went for a
Okay.
little bit.
Okay. So I was going to ask the question, did you like school? But if you could just like elaborate a little bit more, did you like the classes? Was it just the people that um, really like were making your experience not a great one?
I did like school at first. I was on the varsity cheer team in my freshman year and my part of my sophomore year, and I like loved it. It was so fun. The classes were great. I was excelling in all my classes, and I felt like I was like connected with my teacher in an academic sense, but not necessarily in a way that I could like share my personal problems with them, if that makes sense.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, so did you ever have any problems with your grades? It sounds like you were really excelling, with the classes part of school.
So around February of my sophomore year, I started to just lose focus in my academics and just like I started to slow like my grades started to slow down. So I was failing in like calculus, AP Psych, AP Art History. Um and then at one point I just stopped going to class.
Okay. Did you ever try to pursue any help from your teachers or peers or a tutor or anything?
It was like it wasn't necessarily that I needed help in those classes. I mean, it's not like I mean, yes, there was some times when it's like, oh, like I would have a bad homework grade or something like that, and I would go talk to my teachers, but it wasn't that I was struggling in the class necessarily. It was more like I was just struggling like mentally.
Right.
So for me, I just stopped caring. I
Yeah,
just stopped
I
caring.
understand.
Yeah.
Um, so thinking back to like when you were younger, did you ever get in trouble in school, ever suspended, expelled?
Mm-mm. I was never
Okay.
suspended, never expelled.
Okay. And then moving on to your employment history, what was your first job?
My first job was at Cold Stone.
Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
love Cold Stone.
Yeah.
And how long did you keep that job?
I started it my freshman year
Okay.
up until junior year. The
Okay.
the summer before junior year.
Okay. And what jobs have you had since that time, since your first
Um,
job?
I haven't had any jobs since because I was so secure with that job, so I just kept it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Um, so I'm assuming that's your longest job you've had.
Yeah.
Um, so do you think that you typically respond appropriately to supervisors, coworkers, or work pressures? Anything stressful in the work environment?
Um, yes, so like before like all the chaos went down, like I was I think I was like a very good employee. I never had problems with coworkers. I was very like I don't want to say close, but my supervisor, my boss, and I were like we had a very understanding like work relationship. Yeah, there was no problems. And then when I just stopped caring, I just stopped caring about work too. So I would
Right.
call in and be like, I'm sick. I'm calling and be like, I can't make it. Like I'd lie and say my grandma's in the hospital. Like I would just start making all these excuses as to why I couldn't go to work. So then
Right.
that's when they were like, okay, we need to cut you.
Okay. Um, so do you currently handle your personal finances?
No, my parents handle all that for me.
Okay. Um, so then just to clarify, I'm gonna assume no, but no military history. Have you ever served?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Um, and then moving on to medical history, are you aware of any complications during your birth?
No.
Okay. Did you crawl, walk, talk when you were supposed to?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever suffered from any head injuries, loss of consciousness?
Yes. It was um when I was on the varsity cheer team, I was doing a stunt and I was a flyer, so they had like, there's like two people like the base and then like your front person, your spotter, and then the back person or whatever. And I was going up and I guess I was doing a basket toss and when they had thrown me up, they were about to catch me and I don't know what happened with my base, but they like didn't. So I fell and I had a concussion.
Okay. So all of that's resolved though. You've seen the doctor about that and everything.
It was a mild concussion. It wasn't like
Okay.
too
Awesome.
severe.
Um, so are you currently being treated for any physical illnesses or injuries?
Nope.
Okay. Any medications that you're currently taking?
Just birth control.
Okay. Have you ever suffered from any seizures or blackouts?
Mm.
Okay. Um, and then going on to abuse history, have you ever been physically, sexually, emotionally abused? Would you mind going into like a little more detail about that? Was that recently? Um,
Um, so actually it happened one night after a basketball game. It was a big win. And like I said, like I was on the varsity cheer team. So there was this one guy on the basketball team. He was like the star player at our school, and everybody wanted him. Everybody wanted to be with him, and I had a huge crush on him. And so, I always do this. I always lose my train of thought when I'm talking.
Yeah, me too.
I try to like pretend. So I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, how do I go with
it's
this story?
hard.
Yeah, it's hard. So one night after the game, there was like a huge after party, and everyone was there. We were all drinking, like all of that, and I was drunk, obviously, and I guess I don't remember if he was or if he was just like a little tipsy, but we were just talking and getting to know each other and stuff. And then he took me to his room because it was at his house, and um yeah.
Okay. And after this occurred, did you ever seek any help out or talk to anyone about this?
Yes, this is where like um I think this is where I just felt so isolated and alone at school because I tried talking to my teachers about it, and they weren't very open, if that makes sense.
Right.
They're very like understanding of the situation. Um and then I tried talking to some girls, like trying to see, like, not necessarily put my business out there, but try to see if anybody else has experienced it,
Mhm.
um this type of like abuse from him, because I didn't know if I was his first victim or if there was multiple victims. So I
Right.
tried to see if there's other girls who had experienced, and nobody did, or as far as I'm concerned, nobody really came out. um I I was scared to go to school. I was so scared because I was like seeing him was like very traumatizing and triggering to me.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So would you see that as maybe like the turning point um from when like your problems in school kind of started? Would you say that might have been like a factor?
I would say that was the biggest factor because I just I just did not want to be at school because he was there. And then it was like he was walking around acting like nothing happened, that everything was just normal, and then I was just here like, and then when I try to talk to someone about it, people were like, he's not capable of doing stuff like that, like you're crazy. So I just could not go to school. And then I didn't want to tell my parents because I didn't want to tell them about the whole like me being drunk, drinking, all that stuff.
Right.
So I just kept it to myself, and they were always like, why don't you want to go to school? And I was just be like, I just don't feel well.
Yeah,
So
well,
that was
that's
like,
a very valid reason to not feel comfortable going back to school. And thank you for disclosing that with me. And then moving on to any substance use, I know you mentioned like a little bit of drinking, but is there anything else besides alcohol? And like what's the frequency of your drinking?
so I never did anything else besides drinking.
Okay.
Um, Before that night, I did not even drink. Like I did not touch alcohol.
Okay.
And then when that night occurred, that was like my first time getting drunk. So I was like a lightweight. Like I had probably like one cup and I was like gone.
Mhm.
Um, but then after that, I started drinking a lot. Like I would just maybe do it every weekend.
Mhm.
Um, and then I would have like 3 cups, something like that. And
Mhm.
then I tried to stop. Like I even went like 2 weeks without it, and then I just couldn't because that's when like all my emotions started hitting.
Right.
And so, and there were times that I'd even be in front of my parents drunk,
Okay.
and that's when they started to notice some things.
So, have you ever sought out any treatment for the substance abuse, any support groups or anything like that to maybe help you stop um, drinking quite as much?
Yeah, so I like went to this like group. What are they called? The people that like, isn't it
Um,
like AA?
AA, yeah.
Yeah, I went to those. One of my friends suggested it to me, my close friend, and I started going to those privately though. Like I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell my parents about it because they were they were around, but they weren't around.
Yeah.
So they were always at work. And then when they were at home, like I would be like coming from a game or I'd be like doing homework studying. So I never really like talked to my parents that much, if that makes sense, except for like the weekends. So I would secretly just go to those AA meetings with my friends.
Okay. So was that kind of like an outlet for you? Did you feel like you could really share things in that meeting? Did it make you feel any better?
At first, I was very scared because it was like telling a bunch of people my business, and that's something that like I just don't like to do.
Yeah.
So, I at first it was very hard. It was very hard. It was very awkward for me. Um, because I don't like express my like feelings if that makes sense. So it was like very hard for me. But then the more we went, I started to adapt and it was easier for me to just especially when I noticed that other people were telling their stories and they like had the same like stories as me, some even worse. I was like, okay, like this is a safe space. So I just after a while, yeah, I was able to say my story.
Well, that's awesome. Um, so I see that you found kind of an outlet and people to talk to in this group, but would you say in your everyday life that you have other confidants or people you would feel comfortable sharing things with?
I would say the person that I felt closest to sharing things with was Clay.
Okay.
My friend Clay. He was the only person that like I he would have vouched for me and done anything for me. And even though I wasn't completely honest with him all the time, there were some things that I just like hid from him, especially the whole situation after the basketball game. I didn't tell him at first. He found out at the meeting. So that's one person.
Okay. Um, and then going into legal history, have you ever had any charges, past criminal record, anything like that?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay. Um, and then moving into the mental health side of things, do you have a family history of mental illness that you know of?
So my grandfather suffered from schizophrenia and bipolar disorder.
Okay. Um, and then how would you describe your mood generally, more recently, after all this stuff has happened?
Um, I would say my mood fluctuates very frequently. I have some days where it's like I suppress what happened to me, and then I feel like I have this tendency of just trying to ignore what happened, and so it causes me to like my mood to change. So I'll like be happy one moment and then the next I'm like starting to think about it and then like my mood completely changes and so I'm like upset, like I don't even want to leave my room. And I have some moments where it's like okay, I'm back happy again. Like I'll do something like take a shower or like go outside and then it's like I try to distract myself, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you could identify as maybe a trigger that, brings on these thoughts?
um Right now, no. I don't
Okay.
think there's any triggers. It's just something that like you know how like when there's something on your mind and you just can't get out of your head.
Right. Just
Like
like a
it's just
recurring thought process.
hmm
Um, okay. And then have you ever had any suicidal ideation or gestures?
so the game happened Friday night.
Mhm.
Um when I woke up the next morning I was like very confused. And at first I didn't realize what happened to me until I got home and I sat and like processed everything. And then like there was Sunday and then Monday when we got back to school, I saw him and I was just like, I think that's what triggered my thoughts. And then like I just kept seeing him and I just kept thinking about it and then I just kept crying. Like I would just go to the bathroom and cry.
Right.
So it was like one night, I think later in the week, I my parents weren't home and I knew my mom had some pills from her surgery. So I just went and OD'd on them. But um I was fine because my mom came in and she took me to the hospital. So
Um, and then would you say that you experience anxiety or stress or worry? I'm sure that that comes along with, the thoughts that you're experiencing, but besides that, like, um, in general, do you experience a lot of that?
yeah.
Okay. Um, do you notice like a time of day that the thoughts get worse, or is it just kind of throughout the day?
I think it's worse at night because that's when it happened.
Okay. And then do you ever find yourself like irritable at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Okay. Um, and do you experience sleep problems, insomnia, or anything like that?
I've difficulty going to bed.
Okay. Any delusions, hallucinations?
Mm-mm.
Okay. And then do you have any previous diagnosis? No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Um, so what was well, in general, have you had any treatment for mental health slash what did they do whenever, you were taken into the hospital? Did they recommend that you see a therapist or anything?
Mm-hmm. To
Okay.
my
And that's
parents.
why you're here. Okay. Um, so then looking at daily activities and what you do in a typical day, how would you say you spend a typical day now?
I would say now that I like took a break, I guess, from school, I just there's some days where I wake up late and I'll just sit in my room until like my mom comes barging in and is like, you need to get up, you need to get active. So then when
Okay.
that happens, I sometimes like go for a walk around my neighborhood or go for a run.
Okay.
Um and then there's some days where I just wake up early and then I'm just like um make myself breakfast or something like that. And then I try to like shower, like get dressed. Sometimes I'll do some like retail shopping, like it just depends on the day.
Okay. So what kind of things do you do for fun? Like what kind of things make you happy?
I journal a lot.
Okay. Well,
That's
that's
one.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as far as exercising, is that something that lifts your mood at all?
Mm-hmm. Sometimes.
Okay. Um, so with everything that has happened, have you experienced a deterioration in your personal care at all?
Yes and no.
Okay. Would you mind going into more detail on that?
Like certain things I used to do, like get my nails done and stuff, like I don't have the energy to go and do it or get
Mhm.
my hair done. I don't have energy to go and do it. Um, but I still like do like, hygiene related stuff. But
Okay. Um, so have you experienced an impaired ability to interact with others, or maybe more so like a decreased desire to interact with other people?
yes.
Okay. And then what about an impaired ability to understand, remember, and carry out instructions?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay. And then going into a little bit of your social history. So tell me about your social life before all of this happened.
My social life is very well or very good. I I had friends. I had like these girls on the cheer team that I was really close to and I
Mhm.
would hang out with all the time. Um, and then like the night of the incident, And now that I look back at it, it's like it was kind of like a setup type thing. Do you know what I mean? It just feels like I was set up. Because I feel like there was multiple parties involved in that. Because I think everyone knew that I was innocent because I didn't do anything. Like I had never like had sex before. I never like drank, did drugs. So, I feel like that was like a setup in a way to like get me to be like every other girl or something like that. Um, but before that incident, my social life was fine.
Okay. Um, so have you remained in contact with any of these people, or do you see them on a daily basis? Not really.
The only
Okay.
person that I still remain in contact with is Clay.
Okay. Um, and how do you, I mean, maybe more so before this happened, but how do you handle arguments with your friends, family members compared to now, maybe?
Um, so with my family, if we get into arguments now, like, before they didn't really affect me, but now it kind of like I start to overthink about it, and then it causes me to like call like Clay or something. And I just be like, I don't know what to do. Like I just feel like I'm such a like burden on everyone. So that's how it is now, but before it wasn't like that.
Okay. Um, and do you have any acts of self-care that you try to do throughout the day or week to um, kind of make yourself feel better in a way?
I try to take baths. I
Okay.
take a lot of baths. And then I'll do like face mask or I just like watch Netflix or Hulu.
Okay. Um, hmm. So have you considered maybe getting a job or, some like some volunteer work or something to maybe service a distraction or something?
I have. I'm I thought about it, but because of my incident, I've been trying to like just focus on getting better personally.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with me. I really appreciate it.